made the ground with his tears when he prayed, according to his custom, prostrate on his face before the tabernacle, and constantly repeating from Psalm 68. When his body was opened after death, Francis's heart was found as if it were burnt up, and these words imprinted around it, "The zeal of thy house hath consumed me." He was beatified on June the 4th of 1769 and canonized on May 24th, 1807. His liturgical feast is today. In 1838, he was chosen as patron saint of Naples, where his body lies. Astronomers say they're stunned by an unidentified object flashing strange signals from deep space. The object, affectionately named ASKAPJ1832-0911, was detected by the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder and NASA's Chandra-X Observatory, the world's most powerful X-ray telescope. It is unlike anything we have seen before, Andy Wang, an astronomer at Curtin University in Perth, Australia, declared in a statement published this week. The ASKAP, for short, emits pulses of radio waves and X-rays for 2 minutes every 44 minutes, according to the experts who documented their findings in the journal Nature. Wang and his team theorized the object could be a dead star, but that wouldn't explain why it switches on and off at long, regular, and unusual intervals. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Radio Network, seeking news and finding truth.
When President Trump attempts to make America great again, we'll be there for you with the best with live coverage and commentary in media on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com.
Have we reached peak ghetto? You know, my friends, I said a couple months ago that we'd reached peak homo. I believe we may have reached peak ghetto. Ghetto homo. Ghetto homo. We'll talk about it and a lot more. It's the Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Radio Network, the Power Hour. Lunchtime on the East Coast. Hope you're having a good one. Let's ask the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you. By the way, the FBI is filled with lying, conniving, evil, corrupt people.
Into the first galactic empire. For a safe and secure society.
So I'm calling on Congress to pass these reforms, and I'm going to sign them in the law.
You call down the thunder, well now you got it.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
The call-in line telephone number here on the Power Hour, broadcasting live on our terrestrial radio network, and our flagship station, 990 AM WGSO in New Orleans, is 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Crusader Stadium members only chat room. How do you become a member? Go to crusadechannel.com/join. Use the coupon code GOLD, and take 81.88% off. And then, you'll become a member. You can use crusadechannel.com/join. It has been revealed today, there's a lot of news to get to here at the noon hour here on a Wednesday. It has been revealed today that the FBI, when Christopher Wray testified in front of, there was a House committee and there was a Senate committee, when he testified and he was asked about RTCs, radical traditional Catholic nut jobs like me, he said that, oh, no, this is an isolated incident. It came out of one office, and it was a one-off thing, and there wasn't anyone else. It was one rogue crazy agent or whatever involved. The dude perjured himself. The documents that have just been released by FBI Director Kash Patel and the FBI say the exact opposite. There were at least 14 agents. Count them. 14 that were involved in the investigation. He also said, we are not making a habit of this agency doesn't investigate people for their religious beliefs. As I told you at the time, liar, liar, pants on fire. That has now been revealed, and there will now, will there be held to pay? I don't know. It seems to me like that is perjury if he swore, if he raised his right hand and swore under oath, and that would be some form of perjury. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of stuff going on here. For the first week in June, the month of the Sacred Heart, if you are a Catholic, lots of stuff happening here today. I want to go back to a story that I covered earlier today and just talk briefly about this. Why should a Navy vessel, a United States Navy vessel, be named for anything other than a war hero or a warrior? Let me give you an example. The U.S.S. or the U.S.N. Nathan Hale, for example. Who was Nathan Hale? Nathan Hale was an officer in George Washington's Continental Army. He was captured by the British in 1776, in June of 1776. He was court-martialed as a traitor to the British Crown, and he was convicted, and the next day he was... Did they firing squad him? I think they firing squad. No, they hanged him. And they said, any last words? And he said, allegedly, yes, I have last words. I regret that I only have but one life to give for my country. And then they either shot him or they hanged him. Nathan Hale. You could be deployed on the USS Nathan Hale, and you would be very proud of that lineage. Say, I was on the Nathan Hale. What was the ship in the movie Battleship? Remember the ship that... I know that at the end they go and they take the Arizona, they take it back out to sea to shoot to blow the aliens back to Kingdom Come, from whence they was it like the Copeland or something like that.
So the ships that are featured are the USS Ronald Reagan.
Okay, the Ronald Reagan.
The USS Sampson.
The Sampson sounds like a strong name.
The USS John Paul Jones.
That's what it was, the USS John Paul Jones. That's what I'm thinking of. And, of course, the United States Navy is basically founded by John Paul Jones. He is said to have flown the flag of the, they don't tread on me, the Gadsden flag, very famously or infamously, depending on whose side you're on. So back in 2016, Barack Hussein Obama. Well, today we're here to commemorate a great homosexual like me. Did I say that out loud? Scratch that. Great gay crusaders. Not a Cape Crusader, a gay crusader. His name was Harvey Milk, naming a naval vessel in honor of gay crusader. That just doesn't sound right, does it? Gay crusader Harvey Milk. Here is the truth about gay crusader Harvey Milk. Gay crusader Harvey Milk was a pederast. Gay crusader Harvey Milk, there's a story that you can go look up from 2018 by Rod Dreher, Jim Jones and Harvey Milk, The Secret History, written by Rod Dreher. And Dreher says Harvey Milk, by contrast, is a folk hero. The San Francisco Supervisor became a homo rights saint because he was martyred by a right-wing fanatic. That's the received history of both cases. But according to author Daniel Flynn, it's scarcely truth at all, but perhaps or rather propaganda. And the book is Cult City, Jim Jones, Harvey Milk, in 10 Days That Shook San Francisco. Flynn reveals that Jones was in fact a socialist fanatic nutbag, and that Milk, his assassin, was not a homicidal homophobe, but a hot-headed former political ally, furious over Milk's political betrayal. Most bizarrely of all, Milk and Jones were friends and allies, and there's other stuff that is in here. Harvey Milk was said to have molested several teenage boys in the San Francisco area. That's what I was told. In any event, he was certainly not a United States naval hero. So yesterday, Secretary Hegseth quietly let it be known, loudly let it be known that the USNS Harvey Milk will be no longer. And then on June the 13th, or Juneteenth as they previously called it, Hegseth is going to announce the name of the ship, now currently called the Harvey Milk. Can you imagine if you signed up for this man's Navy and you signed up thinking that you were going on the high seas to fight piracy and what have you here, and instead you wound up on the Harvey Milk, the homage to supposed gay rights and what have you here. I will leave the jokes about what kind of piracy you might be fighting on the high seas to your fertile imaginations. But Secretary Hegseth is going to change the name of the USS Harvey Milk. I thought there were two ships that he was changing the name of. Pentagon and the Navy did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Hill, but Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Purnell later released a statement that appeared to confirm changes were underway, and not just with one ship. Secretary Hegseth is committed to ensuring that the names attached to all DoD installations and assets are reflective of the Commander-in-Chief's priorities, our nation's history, and the warrior ethos. Any potential renamings will be announced after internal reviews are complete. And there's more stuff about milk in here. The Harvey Milk has been officially in service since November 2021, when she was christened and launched. Doesn't that just sound? She was christened and launched and stuff. Let's see here. Then Navy Secretary Carlos Del Toro said, the Secretary of the Navy needed to be here today, not just to amend the wrongs of the past, but to give inspiration to all our LGBTQ++, RSTLN and E community leaders who served in the Navy in uniform today and in the civilian workforce. You know, we have reached peak BS on this crap. Yep. No one asked any of the other sailors on any of these ships what sex they had and in what position and with who. I am sick of it, as I'm sure many of you are. And again, here's what happened was they asked to be let out of the closet. It was a simple request. You guys are questions and stuff. Let's let us out of the closet and be ourselves and just respect us like the rest of the human race and stuff. Just because we're gay. Of course, they took a beautiful word, gay, which used to mean cheerful, bright, and gay, and turned it into this. And then Americans, being God-fearing, good-natured, hardworking, good-natured people, went, oh, okay, all right, yeah, you can come out of the closet. But you mind it, though, Buster. And the rest, as they say, is history. There was no mind in it. And the goal always was, you people listening on 990 AM WGSO, you've never heard what many radical homosexuals were really after and what they were all about. Would you like to hear it now? Because I can play it for you. And people go like, you just cherry-picked that. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Didn't have to cherry-pick it. She's proud of it. She has repeated it 150 times since the day that she said it. She's still booked on OMSNBC shows. They still treat her as though she is a spokesperson for the pinko commie homosexual community. Yes, there are communists that are homosexuals. Her name is Masha Gessen. This is a lesbian rights affiliation conference. I forget the actual title of it. It was held in Sydney, Australia in August of 2014. This is what Masha Gessen told the crowd. Now, please note that when she says that the goal is to bring marriage to an end, she gets standing ovation.
I agree. It's a no-brainer that we should have the right to marry. But I also think equally that it's a no-brainer that the institution of marriage should not exist. So that causes my brain some trouble.
Well, then God causes your brain trouble.
Why it causes me trouble is because fighting for gay marriage generally involves lying about what we're going to do with marriage when we get there. Because we lie that the institution of marriage is not going to change. And that is a lie. The institution of marriage is going to change, and it should change. And again, I don't think it should exist. I don't like.
All right. You don't need to hear any more of this pinko commie nut job. She cray.
Beyond.
You didn't create marriage, like in The Princess Bride. Man did not create marriage, madam. God created marriage. There's a reason why it is called holy matrimony. Anyone ever given that any thought? Why do we call it holy matrimony? We call it holy matrimony primarily because our Lord Jesus Christ went to the wedding at Cana and decided that at a wedding between a man and a woman, he would perform his first miracle at his mother's request, which she took the pots of water and turned them into wine. Holy matrimony. The fourth commandment says, thou shalt honor your father and mother. I've done talks on this called Civilization in 6 Words. Honor thy father and thy mother. It's in a specific order. You honor your father and then you honor your mother. To honor a father and a mother assumes children. Honoring a father and mother who have given birth to and who are now responsible for said children. They did this under the ancient Hebrew Jewish practice of marriage. This was known, and there were terms for children that were created like around the time of the first languages. There were terms for children that were not born to married people. The term came, and you still know it today, as bastard. Why were there bastards? To distinguish those and to shame those who were born outside of marriage. Look, I'm not breaking any news here. This is not news. So the idea here that someone, that a human element is going to bring to an end something that God created, it's almost like saying, well, you know what, I want to detonate nuclear bombs so I can kill everything that's in a certain area where I detonate the nuke because I want to wipe from existence in that area all that God created. Now, of course, that's impossible and you wouldn't accomplish that. Same kind of mindset here. So for Secretary Hegseth to be turning these things on their head, as he has already reversed the naming of Camp Liberty back to Fort Bragg, as it should be called, this is just good news. And I'm just wondering what other ships. The USS Harriet Tubman seems to me to be inappropriately named and should be renamed. All right, I want to talk about, so this will happen on June the 13th. We will broadcast it live here on the Crusade Radio Network and the Mike Church Show. This portion of the program brought to you by the Founders Trading Post store. Capuchin Holy Roast coffee is new. It's in stock. It's as fresh as it ever has been. Folks, we had a pot this morning, and it's roasted right down the street at the Abita Roasting Company, especially for the Mike Church Show. And, boy, it is so good, and it's great this time of year. The coffee just kind of tastes different when it's in the warmer summer months. Get yourself a bag or 16 today. Orders of $50 or more, our shipping is free. Go to shop.mikechurch.com. That's shop.mikechurch.com. Don't forget my Manchipia Maria cigars, my Beast and Butt Rub, my 3 seasonings right there, all made from recipes that are yours truly here in Louisiana. Shop.mikechurch.com. Don't forget the rosaries. Don't forget the books. Don't forget the stickers and the T-shirts and my audio and movie documentaries. Too much stuff to tell you all about. Shop.mikechurch.com, and thank you in advance. Play the Marjorie Taylor Greene clip, because I want to talk about this after the timeout. So we'll listen to this clip here. I want one big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill is the greatest, largest tax cut in history, okay? Here's what else is in the big, beautiful canard.
I rise today to address the House about a clause that is in the One Big Beautiful Bill. This clause would take away state rights to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. I think federalism is something that we must always protect, and I warn against the dangers of protecting a tech industry where we have no idea the future of what this industry will hold. AI is rapidly developing. AI has developed quickly over the past few years. Imagine what it will be 1 year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. When we look to the future, we cannot take away states' rights to regulate or make laws to protect the people in their state or to regulate businesses that operate in their state. That would be destroying the very foundation of this country, which is federalism. We must always limit federal power and protect state power. Now, the pushback and the reasons that I've been told about this is that American tech and AI companies must be able to compete with China. Well, American and tech and AI companies can compete with China, and they should compete with China. However, we don't destroy federalism in order to allow them to do that. That would be a fool's errand. Here's how this can work. Governors and state legislatures can make their states friendly for tech companies in AI, bringing these companies in by making it easy for these companies to operate in their states. That's how it's been done for every single innovation, industry, manufacturing, and all companies across America. You don't destroy federalism for one industry, you protect it and allow states to compete to bring those companies into their states. That's the right way to handle this going forward. Here's a lesson for us all. No matter
Read the bill.
what
Is that the
political
lesson?
party holds office and is in charge, we should all watch carefully the bills that we pass.
All right. Stop the tape. So the lesson is read the bill?
Stop taking people for their word.
And stop taking Speaker Johnson for his word. Oh, everything is in here. This is exactly what Trump campaigned on. I must have missed the part about seizing control of all AI and AI innovations and turning them all over to the federales so that what? And where is the expertise? This is what ought to just outrage you about this. Where is the expertise? that government has in knowing what or what not to do with artificial intelligence. The brightest scientific minds in the world, including Elon Musk, don't know what to do with it. The hell makes you think that Chuck Schmuckles Schumer knows what to do with it? Want a homegrown example? Do you think that Dr. Bill Cassidy would know what to do with an AI algorithm and how to regulate it? Well, no, Mike, he would bring experts in. Enough of the regulation. You know, every time government gets involved in anything like this, they screw it up. And you know by the fact that they want to get their tentacles into it, that they want to make winners. Ultimately, folks, this is what it's all about. This is about making winners and losers. The people that pay for access get to be winners, and those that refuse, now, I'm going to compensate, I'm going to compete in the idea, in the arena of free ideas and markets. You're going to lose, buddy.
May not believe it, but Bram Stoker's Dracula may be a work of nonfiction. Hear it and other amazing tales on Turley's Believe It or Else, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Central on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com.
This is a pixel. I'm Groot. Now, if you put a couple of million of these guys together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple of billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 360 billion of them, and you got Chesterton's book, Orthodoxy. But it doesn't smell like a book, and it burns teeny little holes in your cornea. So is the pixel really your friend? I'm Groot. No, but the Founders Trading Post is your friend, and we have actual books with actual smelly pages. Plus, our little bookstore has everything you'd expect. I'm Groot. Yes, Groot, to the gourmet coffee, but no to the One Tree Hill sappy guitar music.
Pick up a copy of G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy, plus many other Chesterton titles at shop.mikechurch.com.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Radio Network News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Wednesday, June the 4th, 2025. This report is brought to you by the 2ALibertyWatchCompany.com. Watches that express your love of the Second Amendment, American liberty, and President Trump, all beautifully crafted and endorsed by Mike Church. Shop their stylish line of watches today at 2AWatchCompany.com. In the market report, the Dow closed up again 0.51%, and so did the S&P 0.58. NASDAQ was up 0.81%. In National Day calendar news, today is National Hug Your Cat Day. It's also National Clean Beauty Day, focused exclusively on formulas and ingredients, and encouraging brands to develop clean and sustainable beauty products from the beginning of their life cycle to the end. It's also National Cognac Day, named after Cognac, France, the same region known for vineyards and producing wine. A distilled brandy must meet certain legal requirements within the production to bear the name of cognac. In fact, one requirement during production includes the use of a particular variety of grape called Ugni Blanc. It's National Cheese Day, and it's National Old Maids Day. And our quote of the day, "Oh Jesus, what would have become of me if you had not drawn me to thee?" St. Gemma Galgani. And our saint of the day, Saint Caracciolio. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News.
You may not believe it, but Bram Stoker's Dracula may be a work of nonfiction. Hear it and other amazing tales on Turley's Believe It or Else, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Central on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com.
Fastest hour in all of radio and talk media. The Mike Church Show's on the Crusade Radio Network. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at MyPillow.com/KingDude. MyPillow.com/KingDude. Orders of $75 or more take free shipping. Don't forget the My Pillow, the My Slippers, the My Mattress Topper, the dog. Dog bed topper, which they actually have. Sets of great percale sheets, and if you fancy Giza, that's Egyptian cotton, I have those new great sheets on sale as well in 12 different colors. MyPillow.com/KingDude. So the question is now being asked of Marjorie Taylor Greene, why didn't you read the bill? Republican extremist says she would have voted against tax and spending bill if she knew all about AI language. Greene revealed she was unaware of a provision in Trump's one big beautiful bill that would prevent states from regulating artificial intelligence systems for a decade. The Georgia representative said she, blah, blah, blah. Full transparency, I did not know about this section on pages 278, 279 of the OBBB that strips states of the rights to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. And Eric Swalwell said in response, hey, you have one job to read the bill. That's bad when the Democrats are on you because you didn't do what they've never done, which is read the bill. You know, I have to say, somebody gave me, back in 2010, in March or so, 2010, somebody gave me the PDF file for the patient. Here's what it was called. Affordable Care Patient Protection Act, ACPPA. You call it Obamacare. And I remember opening it up on an old Mac computer. 6 years, it predated this one right here that says to my right that you can't say by 6 years. And I remember the preview program taking it like forever to open the file. I'm like, what's the PDF file? What the hey? Well, come to find out, it's like 3,000 pages long. I didn't read it. I don't think any human could sit down and actually read it. It was funny. I remember Neil Cavuto getting the guy from the FedEx speed reading guy. He got from the FedEx TV commercial. He got the FedEx speed reading guy, and he got him on, and he interviewed him, and he said, how many pages can you read? Amen. And he goes, well, it depends on the font size and single space, double space. He goes, but typically single-spaced 12-point type, I can read. I can't remember how many pages it was, 16 pages a minute or whatever it was. So Cavuto had the bill printed out, and he wheeled it out, and they set it on and it was about this tall. And they set it on a counter, and they had an inset screen where his show was going on, and the dude was reading the bill. And it had a timer on it. And I can't remember how many, I don't think he finished the bill by the end of the show. And he'd be reading, and it was pretty quick. After he read it, Cavuto asked him, okay, do you know what's in the bill? Because remember, Pelosi famously saying, we're going to have to, whacked off, all roads lead to Putin, 13,000, 14,000 dead Ukrainians, whacked off. We're going to have to pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. Remember that? Pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. So I remember Neil Cavuto asking the guy, do you know what's in the bill? And the guy going like, kinda. And Cavuto going, well, you just read it. He goes, yeah, but it's very, very complicated. Why do we think that men in buildings that are a great distance away from us, meeting in darkened rooms, the famous cigar smoke-filled rooms, discussing and then hammering out and writing rules and regulations for things that they can't possibly know anything about or very much about. Rules that will then be written into stone and will send people to prison for long periods of time if they're broken. And by the time The damn thing is voted on, and then it's printed, and the ink is dry, and it is sent to Mordor and to the president's desk. Heaven forbid they should pass it. And then he signs it, and it goes into law. Everything that was present at the time the thing was introduced has now changed. And yet the language of the bill is carved into stone. Ladies and gentlemen, this has to be the most stupid, redundant, ridiculous, imbecilic practice under which men have been governed ever in the history of humanity. So why do we keep doing it? Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's a fan of federalism. Okay, you know what my definition of federalism is? I did an interview yesterday with Weekend ViewTuber, the founder of Weekend ViewTube, Brandon Howes. And Brandon wanted to have me on to talk about my 2012 movie called What Lincoln Killed, Episode 1. Anyway, he wanted to ask me about old dishonest Abe Lincoln. And so he asked me some questions, and one thing led to another. We had an hour-long conversation about the antebellum himself and what Lincoln killed and what the founding fathers and the generation after them, what they thought about how the Congress and the federal government ought to function. And, I got a call from Brandon this morning. He was very excited. And then I got a very lengthy text message, and he's asking me for more material. And it was like I told Ms. O'Connell, I said, you see what happens when people that don't know the Crusade Radio Network and the Mike Church Show, and they get exposed to it, and they go like, holy moly, where has this been? Where have you been hiding? Well, the powers that be aren't big in to truth in advertising promotional campaigns. They don't really like people knowing what is actually going on and making informed, rational, reasoned choices based on the actual facts. All I did was give Brandon Howes the facts, the ones that I know, from the late 18th century and the beginning to the middle of the 19th century, leading up to the War of Northern Aggression. And Brandon is a very studied, very well-read man. And I could tell by the messages that he sent me that there were things in our conversation that he had never heard before. Now, I bring this up because I don't think that big, beautiful bills are the way out of this. Look, I don't like President Trump. I love Trump. So let me just get that out of the way. I still don't think, and I understand why he's doing it, because it's the process that's there, and he thinks that he can still use that process because he has an ego, and he can use it for good purposes, and it's going to turn good things out. And maybe it will. I think that there will be some good things that will come out of this, and I believe that pulling us away, kicking and screaming from international forced free trade, it's not free trade, and from killing our manufacturing capabilities and industries, I believe that reversing that is probably the most positive thing politically and governmentally speaking that's happened in our lifetime. But understand, that is basically a reversal of previous government actions. And then you might be replacing them with your own, but at least they're in the Constitution, and they make common sense for common people. And I think that that's the key. So why stick this? First of all, why have this ginormous one big giant bill? They didn't want to go to the appropriations for the other stuff, apparently. But why have all of this ledger domain stuck in this thing? Because you know what's going. Folks, you and I know how this is going to play out. And that is the people that are on the winning team who have their hands into the back pockets of members of Congress and the Senate and the staffers that work for them are all going to get their payday again. That much is evident and clear, which is why Elon Musk, who went to Mordor and saw this horror, this absolute horror for himself, did all that he could do to try to bring as much of it as is possible to an end, legally speaking, with the authority he was given. is now out there saying, okay, I can't stand it anymore. This is an abomination. He called it an abomination. Now, I think that the big, beautiful bill is in big, beautiful trouble, and I think that's a good thing. And I think what's going to happen is, if recent history is any indication, is that the U.S. Senate is going to add some treacherous things that you don't want in it, like that AI garbage, and that they're going to take some stuff out, and that they are going to edit some of the language, and they're going to send it back to the House. Twixt now and then, House members should be pressured into doing two things. In a single bill, in a single act, like the House Ways and Means Committee marked this up, it's all you got to do. Give me one single act that renews the Trump tax cuts through the end of the century. Note I didn't say through the next 5 years, make it to the end till 2301. Do it in a single bill. Get it. You only need, on that measure, you can break the cloture rule. You need 50 votes in the Senate plus J.D. Vance. Get it done, pass it, and be done with it. Hijacking this and attaching it to the rest of that crap, to me, is where the crime is. I understand the reasoning. One big, beautiful bill, we can get all this done omnibus. I just think it's a terrible way to do business, and it doesn't break the precedent. And President Trump, you are a precedent breaker. You destroy precedents. So I don't understand why this is going on. Maggie, play the digital media file here. I want all of you to hear on that score. Play number 5. So that was the bad and the ugly. That was the ugly. That's Caroline Leavitt yesterday. Here's the good. And by the way, members of the Democrat Party are evil. If you're a Democrat, you need to resign from the party. Look, I don't care what you become. Become a nothing. Become a know-nothing. Become an independent. Your party is now calling for the doxing of ICE agents. You know what? ICE agents are tracking what kind of criminals who are members of what? Cartels. Maggie's over there going, cartels! Cartels. What do cartels do? Drug people and kill people? They're not known for their charitable exercises. They're not known for their great achievements in humanitarian achievements. Wait a minute. What is this? I just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked planes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. We also discussed Iran. This is Trump now speaking. Breaking news. Big news. Folks, and the fact that time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and on this, I believe that we are in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will, I guess I got to wait for the next screen to roll here, because will participate in the discussions with Iran, and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking there, and now they just took it off the screen. Can we get this so I don't have to read it from Kayleigh McEnany?
Yes.
I mean, good Lord. I don't need to see her. I need to see him. I told you people yesterday, we're at the brink of World War III. Did you hear what Trump just said? He talked to Putin. Putin goes, Then let me tell you, President Trump, Did you know Ukraine was to bomb Russian airfield on agreed upon safe space for Russian aircraft? Did you know this? Now, Caroline Leavitt was asked this yesterday. She goes, no, we did not know. That means that the Biden regime planned this. That means that the deep state and the Decepticon neocons planned it. That means that at some level, ladies and gentlemen, they're still running the armed forces. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. We're at DEFCON 2. The Ukrainians bombed what were supposed to be safely placed Russian bombers. Now, do you know what the real threat here is? And no one wants to tell you this. No one in media wants to talk about this. U.S. airfields are under the same agreement with the Russians, according to SALT 3 or whatever SALT we're on, Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. The SALT Treaty says that the two principal superpowers that have the most amount of nukes and the most firepower will expose their fighter, destroyer, I forget what the terminology is, squadron bombers or whatever they call them, will expose that fleet so that they can be seen and counted from space. That way, the United States knows how many super duper, where's Kelly Lapidus at when I need her?
Super high-tech jet fighters.
And we know how many the Russians have. The Russians know how many we have. We know how many the Russians have. The only way you can accomplish that without spyfare and spycraft and espionage and all that, look, dude, we'll just show you, okay? We'll show you. Of course, you never show all that you have. Well, the DOD is not talking about this, but there are people that used to work at the DOD that are talking about it and going like, that was a drone attack. We are vulnerable to the exact same attack. The United States could have our fleet of similar aircraft also bomb the kingdom come by drones. Did you know that these nutcase Ukrainians, aided and abetted by the likes of Dick Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham, also just destroyed a bridge in Crimea, a highly trafficked, very important bridge? People are trying to thwart peace while this president continues to work for it. All right, so we're going to play you digital media file, as I said, number 5, because this is this is how stupid your left-hard press corps is. Just watch this.
And on my very first briefing several months ago, I said I would hold anyone accountable in this room. The Washington Post actually had this headline: the mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures on the U.S.-Mexico border. How is this mysterious? There is no mystery about why there is a decrease in fentanyl coming into the United States. This administration's strong border policies are the reason there has been a decrease in fentanyl trafficking.
No.
His strengthened relationship with Mexican President Sheinbaum and all of the measures he has been taking to deter illegal human and drug trafficking at our United States southern border is the reason for plummeting fentanyl seizures at the U.S. border. There is nothing mysterious about that, and we'd like to see the Washington Post update their headline accordingly. This is clearly trying to intentionally manipulate the minds of the Americans, and I think the American people understand why there's been a fentanyl drop. In our office responded to this inquiry. We provided a whole host of the reasons that fentanyl seizures at the southern border have dropped, and the Washington Post refused to run them.
And again, you had the American news media against the American people. You know, when you train your fire on President Trump as making America great again, you're training your fire on the people who are Americans. I don't know why this is lost on so many people. Well, I can tell you why. They're evil. By the way, quick programming note to all my friends listening on 990 AM WGSO. This Saturday morning, if you're interested, I am giving a talk at St. Patrick's, Old St. Patrick's on Camp Street. That's 600 Camp Street, or it's 400 Camp Street. 400 Camp Street in downtown NOLA. Mass is at 8 a.m. After Mass, we will retire to the courtyard event area that they have there. And I will deliver the talk. The talk is called Why America Needs Catholic Louisiana. I'm sure Father would be delighted to see any and all of you that wish to attend Mass and then come to the talk afterwards. So again, that's this Saturday at St. Patrick's, Old St. Patrick's on Camp Street. And if you can make it out, come by and say hi. Okay. What else are we going to? I don't want to get into anything too deep because I'm not going to have time to finish it. Okay, I want you to play digital media file number 13. How many of you Whodats have seen Baby John Kennedy?
Oh, he's great.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, well, first of all, who's the dude that does the babies? Dude that does the babies on X.com is just he takes famous sound bites from movies and he takes the characters and they AI them and put them back when they're toddlers, and then just kind of sync the dialogue up to the mouth. This is the one with Senator John Kennedy, but this is not a baby. There is a baby version of John Kennedy, though. Senator Kennedy talking. It's very funny, and it looks like a 3-year-old John Kennedy, including in the suit, and it even has the same accents. Well, let me tell you, Netanyahu. Okay, here. Senator Kennedy.
Do any of you think that nationwide or universal injunctions are not being abused?
He's got a seersucker on, by the way.
I'm not sure what if I may, Senator, I'm not sure what the time horizon of the question is. I don't think that there could be good faith disagreements about the correctness of some of them, but I have not seen in the last 4 months abuse. No.
I've read your stuff. And I've read your writings. I don't want to get bogged down with this, but
I've read your stuff.
I have little respect for your opinion because I've read your stuff.
I've read
when
your
someone
stuff.
is in the White House that you agree with, and someone gets a universal injunction against him, you don't like universal injunctions. You called them judges acting like they're politicians in robes, and judges looking like crass political actors. But now that President Trump's in the White House, who you dislike, you think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. So I have to discount what you say because I think you act on your political beliefs. And I worry that that's what you're teaching your kids.
And I worry that's what you're teaching your kids. I think you think that these injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. Or as we would like to say in Louisiana, it tastes like some fado dough. He is such an amazing character. Oh, gosh. You know, the only thing that even comes close to Senator Kennedy, and it's not even in my adult lifetime, I have to go back before I was born. The Louisiana Hayride. How many of you old-timers out there have old-time radio versions of the Louisiana Hayride? The Louisiana Hayride had a character that was, and then I'm not sure, did Warner Brothers steal Claghorn, or did Claghorn steal from Foghorn Leghorn? But the character was, well, I'll say this, son, that boy's about as sharp as a bowling ball. Of course, the great Mel Blanc did that character awesome as Foghorn Leghorn, but Senator Claghorn was on the hayride. I think Senator Kennedy should be on the hayride. Folks, write me. I am KingDude at protonmail.com. God bless you and Mary keep you. See you tomorrow.